Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday, brought to you by Idaho Public Television and Montana PBS.
Hey there, welcome back to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Nikki with Montana PBS, and I'm joined today from my good friend Sarah Dahl from the Livingston School District. Sarah and I are going to talk about Hyperdocs today as a way to engage students. But I brought Sarah here because she has done a lot with Hyperdocs and supporting teachers to use Hyperdocs in the classroom, far more than I have, in fact. And so Sarah, will you tell us how you've used Hyperdocs with students and with teachers?
What I love about Hyperdocs is it gives kids the opportunity to work kind of at their own pace, kind of to engage in materials and the skills that you're wanting them to work on, and whatever video or web page or whatever it is that you're wanting to link them to at their own pace, and kind of in a way, like depending on what you're wanting to do, at their own choice. Because Hyperdocs were kind of a jumping, like a springboard for me into what I chose to create, which was the start of trying to give students more choice and a more self-paced learning environment. And that's really what I like about them. So what I'm going to start with, I had used a Hyperdoc once and I really liked it, but what I really like to sometimes bite off more than I can chew, but in this particular case, what I bit off like really paid off in the end. I like to take something and then kind of just add maybe a little bit more of an artsy feel to it, or maybe more of a look to it than just the simplistic view there. While I think that simplicity has a time and a place, and that's where Hyperdocs come in. If you get your students used to Hyperdocs and you want to move them, still keeping the same structure, into something that is a little bit even more engaging visually, that's kind of where I went with it. So the first thing that I want to show you is actually a Adobe Spark page. If you're not familiar with Adobe Spark is a free website for teachers to use. Students can use it as well. And I like to build things that kind of look similar to a website, but it's easier to build in it than it is a website because it does a lot for you. So this is an Adobe Spark page. Right now I'm in the edit view, but I'm going to put it into present. It's going to take a minute. It is web-based, just so you know. So in this, what I did in this page, and it creates kind of a flow, is I started with the engage activity, and had them just first look at this, read this. This is a six-word memoir activity, and just have them kind of read it, have them give them a question, consider what the story is. And in this case, all they really had to do is just look at it. So that was kind of the engage part. And then I wanted them to explore this idea of what the six-word memoir was. So their assignment, which I built this during the closure. So I wanted to make sure that everything was very outlined for what they needed to do. So I had the assignment here. And then in terms of what that Hyperdoc does, is you're creating that website, or like you're creating that hyperlink to that website or that web page or video or something like that. And in the case of Adobe Spark, you just hit this button and the button will take it. So you can build the button within the Adobe Spark and then attach the link to it. And it still is going to send them where you want them to go, but it does have kind of that website feel. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to show it to you. It kind of is looking really jerky, but when you're in this, not seeing it on a Zoom, if you were to go into this, it flows really nicely. It has a really smooth transition. Then in the explain part, I give them a little bit more detail on what it is that a six-word memoir is or how it comes about. And I want them to see the video that also explains the 6-word memoir. And that's another button that they are able to explore, so they have a better understanding of what I'm asking them to do for this activity. And then I have them go into apply and share. So in this case, this apply and share, there's an assignment for them. They'll have to read something and do something. And in this case, they're going to apply it and then write their own. And so they'll be able to see this. And then again, the hyperlink is, okay, I'm going to have them use Adobe Spark themselves. Here's a tutorial that's sending them out. Here is the website for Adobe Spark that's sending them out. And I'm able to also kind of move them into that reflect part of a Hyperdoc, where you could also attach, and again, sending them another direction, because that's what a Hyperdoc does, you know, maybe where they would turn it in, you know, so it could connect back to their Google Classroom or their Canvas or whatever it is that you have them working to in the end. And this is just taking kind of that doc idea and moving it into a website version of itself that has a little bit more visual. So it actually, what I do like about this is it might not take them as many places as a Hyperdoc does, like away from your doc as many times, because you're able to do the visual and put it into the actual website. So I've done this with a couple of things. I'm gonna escape. I also have one that I did for Jurassic Park, and here's just another look of it in a different kind of setting. This one has like quite a bit more to it, I would say, but it's still loading. There it goes. It gives them a little bit more reading, but it still has the buttons that link them to what it is. And then your cloning information is still there, so that pulls them out. And then they are able to engage in even some information if you wanted to do it that way. But I like Adobe Spark because you can easily put buttons into it. Now, when I was doing the Adobe Sparks and I was building these like this kind of visually appealing way for students to engage and then explore a lot of the skills, the materials, the ideas that I was trying to present to them in the class, I thought, man, there's a way that you could organize this that kind of takes it beyond the Hyperdoc, even the explore, explain, and all of that, and give them even more choice. And that's where I ended up creating a gallery walk. And I've done this in a variety of different ways. And so I'm going to show you 3 examples of how I've done that. I'm going to start at the lowest level that I've created a gallery walk for, and that's my kindergarten. And this is based on like short vowel sounds. And I just built this in Google Slides. So that's another thing that's really nice about Hyperdocs. A Hyperdoc can look like anything. It's simply linking you away. So whatever platform or tool that you're most comfortable working in, choose it, go with it, and just kind of play around, because it's all about making sure that the tool has the ability to link. In this case, I'll go ahead and put this into present mode. So when you click in through this slide, it will take you to just kind of I guess you could kind of call this like a lobby or a table of content if it were a doc. And all of the pieces in the gallery walk are linked to something. And in Google Slides, what's really nice is you can link it to a different slide. So it will move the student through. So here I have, you know, the A-E-I-O-U. And when you click on, we'll go into U, it'll take you into the gallery for you. And each of these is linked to its own page. So for butterfly or what I did with this was actually I put the sound on the slide. You can't hear that, but when the a student goes into the room, if you will, when they go into the room, it starts the short U sound so that they can hear it. And because this was for kindergarten, I couldn't do a lot of words on it, but each page is linked. So if I go into Cub, you can see I'm able to put play a video for the student that's in there. It's linked to sounds, so they can click these buttons and they're able to access the sounds. And in terms of a hyperdoc, usually the links take them somewhere else. But for a kindergartner, you don't want them on the internet all the time and you don't want them moving around. So everything is able to, like, you're able to house it in slides itself, which is really nice. And so this is something that if you're trying to think of how would I use a hyperdoc for kindergartners, consider you're linking to maybe not words, but to little images, and maybe you're not linking them through to the internet, but you're able to link them to pages in a slide, and they'll be able to kind of click and navigate through this. And trust me, your kindergartners, they know what this is, and they know what the sound is, and they're used to doing these types of things. Like in this particular one, each thing has a sound, a link to a video about the animal, an activity for the kid to do. And so that's why I kind of like to show this as a nod, if you will, to Hyperdocs, because it's a little bit different from a Hyperdoc. Then as you get a little bit older, here's one, like if you were to consider like Romeo and Juliet might be something that you work with at the middle school level or at the 9th grade level. That's pretty common. This is what a gallery walk can look like as the student gets a little older. Still built-in slides, still linked to slides, but there is a little bit more of a linking out. Like if I click on the stage and I come into here, this here actually is linked to a 360-degree tour of the Globe Theater. So when you click on this, it does pull you out of the gallery walk, and it takes you to the Globe Theater virtual tour. When you click into, say, this, it's going to take you to a different Google Doc. So these are pulling you out of that gallery walk into maybe what you would have the student do, which might be the activity and then, your resources. This is a really good example of how I've used kind of a hyperdoc within a hyperdoc, I guess is what you might consider it. Because here, the resource list is another place where you're able to link. So if I were to hit Control, and it would take you, these pieces here would take you to those places as well. And so, so that's kind of another example. I'll also take you in this one, because it can be really visual. Your links can be anything in Google Slides, which is really cool. They can be shapes, they can be images that you put in here. In this, we built, because I built this with another colleague, we built like an actual stage setting. Like if you were to stage Romeo and Juliet, we put props in here, and our links are actually attached to the props. So you can see when you move your cursor over, and this is what I tell the kids all the time, like that are using these types of things, move the cursor around. When it turns to a finger, that's when, you're exploring something else. So that's the Romeo and Juliet one that I've done. I've also done them to look a little bit more kind of picturesque, taking that idea from Romeo and Juliet where we've built the stage. I've also built a gallery walk to look like a museum, because that's what a gallery walk is, right? You're walking through a museum. And so this is a gallery walk that I actually did for PBS a little over a year ago, I guess now. And this is based off of content from the Unladylike series, which is an excellent, if you have not checked out that series, I'm going to do a shameless plug for it because it's the Unladylike series is a really great series. But this is exploring 3 different Indigenous women. And in this, you are able to link to materials within the room. So you can see my cursor, this is going to link me to an activity, and it's also linked to another document. So when I open up this, it's going to put me into another document that would explain, what that activity might be. And so they also have back buttons, so it can take me back into the room, or it can take me into the next room. What I would say about whatever it is that you're doing with a Hyperdoc, or if you're extending it into something like this where you want a visual appeal to it, you definitely want to make sure that it's something that's easy to navigate for the student. And so you need to make sure you're building in these buttons that either take them to the next room or take them back to something else, because when you are building in slides, it will advance forward regardless as to what slide you want them to go to if you're not instructing them to use the back buttons in order to control what you're doing within it. So that's just something that I kind of would recommend if you choose to go this direction. And then, like I said, this is, these are like, I saw Hyperdocs, really liked it, liked the idea of linking, and just kind of wanted to build off of that. How can I use hyperlinks in a whole different way? And that's kind of what this comes from.
That is awesome. You did such a great job sharing that with us, and those lessons are so much fun and just beautiful. They're stunning. And so we'll put the links for all of this in the description of this episode, so you can find, I think PBS Learning Media has the Romeo and Juliet and the Unladylike template. And then Sarah has shared the Bowel one. So we'll put all of that in the links to the description. So if you're watching this video, you can check all those out. Sarah, this was great. Thanks so much for joining us for Tech Talk Tuesday. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Thanks.